Here now to discuss is Mike Huckabee. He is former governor of Arkansas, and he is also a Fox News contributor. Governor, I have noticed this week, and I just want to tell people what they're seeing on the screen there. So these two trucks, I think what is going on, I'm just going to hazard a guess here. I think these are two trucks like regulation and deregulation that are going to pull against each other. They're representing the burden on businesses, you know, trying to illustrate sort of what people are up against. Between this and the president on the stage yesterday with a UPS driver, not the CEO of UPS, not some executive, not another politician, but he brought up a truck driver who got up there and said, look, I drive a big rig. I want infrastructure investment. You know, I'm a working guy. I love you, President Trump. There's a change in the tone of the campaign here in the past 2 days. What do you make of it?
I think it's pretty significant that the Democrats, who used to be all about infrastructure, remember when they said they really wanted to do it? President Trump laid it on the table, said, great, let's work on it. He loves infrastructure. But as soon as he put it on the table, they walked away from the table. And it's unfortunate because everyone wins. I don't care what your political ideology is. Everyone wins when we have an enhanced infrastructure, whether it's roads, airports, bridges, sewer systems. We all benefit dramatically from an improved infrastructure. Let me give an example. When I was governor, we had some of the worst interstates in the country. I inherited them. I went to the people of our state. I said, we've got to fix these. Everybody understood they were a mess. The people voted by an 80% margin to fix the highways, which we ended up doing. We went from being noted by the truckers as the worst interstates to the best when we got that done. Now, here's what happened. To every motorist, they saved on average $481 a year on car repairs just based on better roads. So this is something that people don't sometimes relate to, but they ought to, because deregulation and building infrastructure are two things this president wants to do, can do, is trying to do, that are a huge economic benefit to every person, whether they have any political interest or not.
It's also interesting because it seems like he's doing, we see the president coming out now, and you know, when he comes to the podium, we'll listen to what he has to say. Yeah. But he's doing what he did in the last election, where he is picking off people or groups that were traditionally supporters of the Democrats. He's got truck drivers out there. But then he also had that endorsement from the police union that, I'm saying the society wrong, but it was I think it's the National Policemen's Association. Anyway, they had endorsed President Obama and Biden twice before. Now they've gone over to Trump's side. He's putting together an unlikely coalition again. What do you think of that strategy?
I think it's brilliant because he's not really the ideological president. That's why some of the never-Trumpers in the Republican Party don't like him. They're losing business as political consultants. They're not being listened to because, you know, we're moving into a new era where we're interested in solutions. We want to solve problems. We don't just want someone to make a speech, be ideologically correct, but never get anything done. This president's a doer. People may not like the way he does it, but you cannot argue that when it comes to whether it's border security or deregulation, which is really, really important, he's getting it done. And we should be grateful for that. And it doesn't matter what the party is. He's reaching out to Democrats saying, hey, this is something we can agree on, surely. And they seem to be more interested in the election outcome than they are in the outcome for the average American family. And that's tragic.
So we've also seen a change at the top of the campaign. Obviously, Brad Parscale is out. There is a new head of the campaign. At the same time, we've seen this sort of change in tone to these are more positive events where he's talking about either things he's done or things he can do. It feels like a big shift. Do you think that's the right way to go? Because, you know, over time in the past, negativity has worked in politics. I mean, we all say we hate those ads, but they work. So what do you think of a more positive strategy that we seem to be seeing these past couple days?
I think it's really smart because the president needs to talk about the things that he has accomplished, the things that make a difference for the average American family. There's going to be an important time to go out there and attack the other side, but let surrogates do that. Let him stay on the high road.
Okay.
Let the surrogates go after Joe Biden.